So today I present you Memento. Memento is extremely complicated deck where it focuses around your boss monster, Memento Tekutlika combined creation, and also your fusion monster, Memento Clan Tekutlika creation king. Both of these monsters is really important to the deck, and I will explain one by one what each of the card do. The deck main focus is to summon your boss monster, which is your creation king, your creation king, and also your main deck monster combined creation. Both of these monster is very important for your deck, and it allow you to OTK using your Akihiron. For the purpose of this deck, I use actually two decks. Firstly, I use this version, which main deck and Lancia, but unfortunately in most of my games I break with this deck. So I decided to optimize this deck a little bit by not including Goblin Biker Grand Breakout and also Artifact Lancia. So I will show you my optimized version of the deck. So this is my optimized version of the deck. I decided to run the trap and also cut out the Lancia because sometimes when you are in a ranking of best of one, sometimes you don't really use Lancia that much, so it's become a break. So that's why I cut it out. So I'll just use this version to climb on the rank until my diamond, and also this version I include another extra copy of Gathic. So for the main deck, I actually use one Mace, one Goblin, double Maxi, double Gathic, triple Ash Blossom, triple Angwitch, one Sleepy, triple Darkblade, triple Tatsunootoshigo, one Akihiron, one Horn Dragon, one your combined creation, 1/1 Memento Clan, your field spell, triple Super Poly to break your opponent board, one Call by the Grave and cross out, two Call by the Grave and cross out for Maxi and Ash situation, and I run triple Bone Party, triple Memento Land Fusion, triple Impermanence, and one Memento Clan Fracture Dance. For the extra deck, I run one Mud Dragon of the Swamp, one Garura, Earth Golem Ignister, Memento Land Twin Dragon, one Chaos Structure Dragon. This is mainly for blue eyes, and then one Guardian Chimera, double Tekutlika combined Creation King, one Typhon, one IP, Cross Ship, Predator Planetary Anaconda, Sprite Elf, ASP Little Knight, and Apollousa. So the reason I run double Memento Land Gathic, because simply Bestial is a problem when it hit exactly your Gathic. If you send your Gathic using your Tatsunootoshigo effect, you send it to the graveyard. If your opponent have any way to banish it from your graveyard, you have a way for it to recover it by using your Akihiron, but it's extremely hard and a bit too complicated to get it. So that's why I run two. Sometimes if you open your Gathic, your combo become a bit weaker. So that's why I decided to run two Gathic as a backup plan. And then when they come to the main deck, I also run one Fracture Dance. Fracture Dance is actually not necessary, but sometimes if you want to have enough like extra disruption, Fracture Dance is actually pretty good in most of my matchup based on the later replay. Okay, so another thing is when you are using Memento, the first thing you need to remember is this deck need to play around certain hand trap. Like for example, this deck can play through Malchami, Fualos, even Meows, even also all of the triple Malchami, but this deck have no way to beat Maxi. That's simply as it is. They can't beat Maxi simply because Maxi is a problem. So that's why you need to be aware of like certain gameplay, especially when it comes to Malchami, because this deck can play around all of the other Malchami except Maxi. I think I don't want to waste any time longer. We can jump into the gameplay, into the combo guide, and I will show you one by one on how to combo using this deck. Let's go. Alright, for the first, this is the starting combo. Just imagine I only have Angwitch and ignore the other. So first, you want to normal summon your Angwitch and trigger it to add for your Tatsunootoshigo. So, and then you want to activate your Tatsunootoshigo. If you control any other face monster except Memento, you can special summon it for free. And then you want to activate it. So Tatsunootoshigo effect is basically said you want to send you will send Memento monster up to the levels that destroy. For example, if you destroy your Angwitch, you will save a level 2 or level 1 or level 1 or in this case I want to activate my Tatsunootoshigo. I will pop itself, and then you want to send your Sleepy, and then you want to send your Mace and your Goblin. Okay. So, and then you want to activate your second effect of Angwitch to target level 2 or lower Memento in your graveyard, pop it, and then reborn it. In this case, you want to target your Mace, and you want to pop Angwitch. And then you want to activate your Mace to add 1 Memento card, because the first priority when you're playing Memento is you want to find a way for you to fusion summon into your combined creation. Your creation king. This is the combined creation. The creation king, the fusion monster. So you want to search for your fusion first. So since you meet the requirement that you already have pop Memento monster this turn, you can shuffle Memento monster from your graveyard or hand as a material, which is extremely strong. That's why you want to always make sure you pop your Memento card this turn. So in this case, you want to shuffle your Mace, since you already use its effect. Mace, you want to shuffle your Horse, and you want to shuffle your Angwitch. And then you want to activate your Creation King. You want to send 3 things. You want to send your another copy of itself. You want to send Akihiron, and you want to send Gathic. You activate your Gathic. So Gathic in the graveyard will be able to special summon if you send to the graveyard. It will trigger, and then you want to add your Sleepy. Sleepy is another way for you to fusion summon. So remember, this deck can only fusion summon 2 times, using your Sleepy or using your fusion Memento Land fusion. So remember, you only go to the extra deck basically twice for Memento monster it is. And then you fuse using itself and your Gathic, and then you go into your Twin Dragon, and then you trigger your Twin Dragon. You pop itself, and you want to search for 2 things. You want to search for your Horn Dragon, and then you want to search for your Mace, because Mace has another effect because it's a hand trap also. So you want to search it. So Chainlink 1, you want to activate your Twin Dragon, and then Chainlink 2, you want to summon your Akihiron. If you have, you can search your field spell before you fuse. It's not no problem if you do not activate it now. And then in this case, you want to summon your Sleepy, and then you want to activate your fusion, another effect of your fusion, to search for your field spell. You activate your field spell. So in this case, you want to activate your fusion to all pop your own Akihiron. The reason is, if you pop your Akihiron, you can basically recycle a card that is banished or in the graveyard. So in this case, for example, if you don't have a Bone Party, you can search for the Bone Party, or you can, if you don't already have a copy of it, you can search for Fracture. In this case, I want to search for Bone Party. Imagine I don't have any other card in my hand. And then you will trigger my Akihiron, and also I will recycle my Mental Land Fusion back to my hand and activate my Memento Clan to target my Akihiron and reborn the Goblin in the graveyard. So in this case, as you can see, we already do everything. So you want to activate your Goblin to pop your Sleepy, and then you want to send. You can send first. You can send your Tekutlika, but usually you don't really send it because Sleepy has another effect. If it's destroyed, you can send one Memento card from your deck to the graveyard. So this is like a free for all. So it doesn't really necessarily mean you can send any Memento monster, because you just want names. So in this case, I can send my Fracture, and also I can send another copy of my Angwitch, and then I can trigger my Sleepy, Sleepy, I will basically I can send another copy of any other Memento card, but in this case I just want to send my combined creation, my boss monster, to the graveyard. And then I can activate my Bone Party to pop any Memento card in my hand, but in this case I only have like Horn Dragon and also Mace, so I just want to go simple and just simple play. I just can straight up go into my IP. Then lastly, you can activate your Creation King. You want to target your Twin Dragon, Gathic, your Sleepy, your Goblin, and you can activate your Horn Dragon, but usually you want to leave Akihiron in the graveyard and your Angwitch. In this case, I will shuffle back my Horn Dragon. So this is basically the standard combo of the deck, and then I will show you how to use it to interrupt your opponent. So you can set your Bone Party. Bone Party, usually you want to activate it, you can activate it, but usually depends on your hand and so on. I can set my Fusion. So basically I have still 5 cards in my hand, and I will activate my Fracture. I will set it. So during my opponent's turn, I have a monster Yoink using my Mace, and also a Pop using my trap card. So you don't want to trigger your combined creation too early, because sometimes you play into triple tactic talent. So you usually want to leave it there. So in this case, he will target my land drop. So you can chain by using your Creation King. You can reborn it back using your combined creation. So in this case, I can activate my Creation King. I can pop itself and pop the field spell. In this way, I can trigger both of my field spell. Field spell you can trigger it now, sure, because field spell allow you to reborn any Memento that lower than the level in the graveyard that you're targeted. So we can reborn. So this deck, the disruption for this deck is extremely layered. So you need to be mindful of when like certain card that you are targeting. So because this deck layer is the disruption is extremely layer. It's basically like Maliss. So you just need to be mindful. That's all. In this way, you can search for your fusion. You can, since you already pop Memento, you can search for your fusion. So in this case, before you open end main phase, maybe you can activate your mains. You can yoink it, target, and then you can activate your Masquerena. You can go into your IP. Sorry, SP. You can pop it. You can pop your, for example, card in the opponent graveyard. And then, if you have a little bit more disruption, you can use basically your Fracture Dance during the end phase. Pop it. You can destroy another card. You can destroy even your own Akihiron. In this case, I can pop it, and then I can activate my Akihiron to recycle back my fusion, or you can take back your Fracture Dance. But usually your field spell gonna recover it, so you can just recycle the banished Creation King. This is completely like free, totally free, like free for all. So it's technically not focused on like one very linear combo. So you can summon it, and then you can go for OTK. So now we're gonna jump into the second combo. So what happens if you only open like a hand like the basically open your Bone Party, your Gathic, and your Fusion. So in this case, when you are going second as a Memento player, the first thing you need to remember is you want to bait them before using your Memento Land Fusion, because Memento Land Fusion basically like your last ditch play, not the last ditch but your huge play. So for example, if they impulse it or they interrupt your Memento Land Fusion and you probably not really in a good position, so that's why usually you want to save your Memento Land Fusion on the last second before you do any huge play. So you want to bait them using your Bone Party or anything else. So let's imagine I only have my Bone Party here. You can pop it. So in these cases, in this case, you can either search your Tatsunootoshigo or you can search for your Angwitch. So sometimes it depends on your matchup. If you want to search for Angwitch, you can straight up go for your Sleepy to fuse to bait your opponent. So it technically depends on your hand and also your matchup. Because if they, for example, droll you want to usually go for your Goblin, because Goblin can send your Gathic, another copy of Gathic, and also you can send your fusion, and then basically Goblin can grab your fusion basically from the graveyard. So you can play it on droll. Same goes for Charmy, because you won't basically going to the special summon from deck or extra deck to main deck 1 usually. So it's really simple because most of your monster send itself to the graveyard. Okay, so in this case we're gonna summon our Angwitch. You want to activate your Angwitch. So Angwitch in this case, usually you want to search for Tatsunootoshigo. You usually always Tatsunootoshigo, because Tatsunootoshigo will send your mace, will send your goblin, will send your sleepy. So that's why you usually gonna run Tatsunootoshigo, because Tatsunootoshigo allow you to extend, and also it's a foolish burial for 3, which is pretty good. Okay, so we're gonna activate our Tatsunootoshigo. We're gonna special summon it, and then you want to activate your Tatsunootoshigo. Tatsunootoshigo pop itself. And then you want to send, as I said, mace. You want to send your goblin, and then you want to send your sleepy, and then you want to activate your Angwitch. Angwitch, you want to target your mace. So as you can see, this is basically the same priority as before, where I prioritize mace first, mace search effect by popping itself. So in this case, for example, I already have my Memento Land Fusion, so I can either search for my field spell or I can search for my Horn Dragon. But usually Horn Dragon is like you can search it with using your another fusion monster. So you can search for your Memento Clan. Yeah, Memento Clan. So by doing this way, you don't have to send it by using your Creation King. So then you activate your Memento Land Fusion. Memento Land Fusion go into your Creation King. So as I said before, shuffle your Gathic. In this case, if you open a Gathic, because it does not have send itself to the graveyard yet. So you want to shuffle your Tatsunootoshigo because you already used this effect. And in this case, you want to summon your shuffle your mace too. So summon your Creation King. So another thing is to notice with Creation King set, you cannot activate the following effect of Memento Land Creation King in the same chain, which means if you are activating its effect to foolish, you can't activate its another effect to pop itself and pop another card on the field. So depends on the matchup. Sometimes you don't want to activate your Creation King because you want to check a certain card, for example like a back row, maybe a skill drain, something like that. So it depends on the matchup. So in this case, you want to send, as I said previously as well, usually Akihiron will be your number 1 priority, second priority is your Gathic, or maybe the other way around. Your first priority is your Gathic, your second priority is your Akihiron, because Akihiron is the card that allow you to, for your fusion level 9 or above, to attack directly, which is your basically your Tekulitika Creation King. So in this case, I'm gonna send Combine Creation too. And then you want to activate your Gathic. Gathic special summon is up, and Gathic usually always gonna grab your fusion monster, which is technically like quick play fusion monster, your Sleepy. So you activate your Sleepy. and then you want to activate your Sleepy. So Sleepy can fuse using another copy. It does not mean it does not necessarily need to fuse with itself. So that's why you usually run only one copy, because it's also recyclable. So, and then you activate your Twin Dragon. Dragon pop itself, and then usually if you the search with Twin Dragon, you want to search for your Horn Dragon, because you already have a lot of Memento land names in the graveyard, so you want to search for it. And you want to search for your Disruption, which is your Mace. Mace is a searcher and also a Disruption, but unfortunately Mace is not a one card combo, because Mace only search one card, because you don't have a material to fuse, so you need to have another card. So that's why Mace is not a one card combo, but it's a good hand yoink for your hand. Okay, then you activate your Twin Dragon effect, you activate your Archeron Chainlink 2, and then you want to activate your Memento Clan Chainlink 3. So Chainlink 3, target your Twin Dragon, so the field spell will reborn monster level that it's lower than 7. So in this case you can summon either your Sleepy or your Gathic, because if you want to go for Spy Elf play or something like that, and then you go for your Archeron, and then your fusion gonna reborn maybe your Goblin, because you haven't used its effect to dump two names. So in this way you can trigger, if this card normal or special, you can activate this effect. Level 9 or higher Memento monster can attack directly. Basically it just means your Creation King and also your Combined Creation basically can OTK your opponent for 8k, which is pretty good. So in this case, for example, if I want only to pop his monster, you can activate your Creation King to pop, and then he's gonna change, sure. And then you want to activate your Archeron. Archeron can recycle your fusion or your another copy of fusion monster. In this case, I'm just gonna grab my fusion. It does not really matter at this point. And then I can activate my command creation, shuffle everything. This is just to show that this deck can also OTK going second. And then you can OTK, attack directly, and attack directly. So that's one of the way if you were to go second. Usually, as I said before, you want to bait your opponent to hand trap you, and then you want to activate your Memento Land Fusion on the last play to make sure your opponent does not disrupt any of your previous play. So we're gonna jump into the next play. So now I'm gonna show you what happened if you only open your Tatsunootoshigo. Your end board is not really gonna be that strong, but you're still able to do plays. So you activate your Tatsunootoshigo. Tatsunootoshigo activate itself. So you want to send your Gathic, and also you want to send your Sleepy, and then you want to trigger your Gathic to special summon itself, and then activate your Gathic, targeting your Sleepy. So you activate your Sleepy, since you have your monster was destroyed by card effect Stun, can fuse. So you can go into your Twin Dragon, and then Twin Dragon, either so you can search, you can pop itself, and then search for your straight up Angwitch or your Horn Dragon. But sometimes you can search for your Dark Blade to summon your Angwitch from your deck, because Dark Blade and Angwitch technically the same end board pieces, but the difference is your Dark Blade can grab your Mace. So in this case, I'm gonna grab my Dark Blade, and I can also grab my Horn Dragon, and then I can trigger my Twin Dragon to special summon. You can special summon your Sleepy or your Gathic to make elf play with your Horn Dragon. So in this case, I'm gonna summon my Horn Dragon, my Gathic, to make a protection for Elf, and then summon my Horn Dragon, go into Elf. I want to summon Pointed to make sure Elf protected. And then you can pop itself. You can straight up summon your Mace. You can activate your Mace effect to pop. And then you can straight up go your Mental Infusion. And then you can go from here. You can go all in. You can go for your Fusion. You can go into your Creation King. You can usually you don't shuffle your Gathic because Gathic is already used effect. But in this case we have Elf, so we can reborn it and then make IP with it. So you want to leave your Elf here. So since you already summon, you can shuffle your Tatsunootoshigo, Mace, and also you can either go for Dark Blade usually in this case, or your Memento Twin Dragon. So you shuffle 3. Summon and make sure to the Elf Pointed to make sure for protection, and then you can send as the same, send this, and then send your Tekutlika, you basically a fusion monster, Creation King. I always get it confused, I'm sorry. And then you can send either your Angwitch for reborn effect or you can just straight up your Tekutlika combined creation. So and then you can activate your Creation King. You want to search for your field spell. You want to activate your field spell, and then you want to activate Elf. You want to special summon your Gathic. And then you want to activate your Memento Infusion. You want to pop the Gathic because Memento Infusion does not need to pop Memento monster. You can pop even your own Elf. For example, if you have Nibiru, you got Nibiru. Basically, you can Memento Fusion, pop Nibiru token, and then search for another copy of yourself. That's why this card is so broken. This card is extremely important and broken because you can banish itself and pop monster you control. Does not need a Memento monster, and you can add another copy of itself, which is very nice. But in this case, we're just gonna pop the Gathic. And now 3 channeling will happen. So if you don't have Bone Party, you're gonna search for Bone Party, and then channeling 1 Acheron. So in this case, as you can see just now, the field spell does not trigger because you don't have a level lower than 2. We don't have any Goblin, we don't have Mace. So by using your Bone Party that you searched just now, the field spell will trigger. So you want to pop your Acheron. So you can go for Angwitch since you don't have Angwitch just now. We don't have activate any Angwitch effect, and we can search for our Mace. So in this case, we're gonna search it, summon our Angwitch, and then channeling 1 our Angwitch, channeling 2 our field spell, targeting our Acheron, and then channeling 3 Acheron will recycle your fusion. So remember, Acheron always you want to remember to recycle its effect. So in this case, you can summon either your Sleepy. Does not really matter at this point. If I'm being completely honest, actually, it does not really matter because you have already extra body on the field. So in this case, you can search for your Mace. So now you can either pop your Angwitch. Sorry, you can pop your Sleepy using your Angwitch effect to reborn anything from the graveyard. Just for the material of to use the full effects of your Memento monster, because we have not triggered the Sleepy effect to send something to the graveyard. Maybe you can send your trap, but in this case I open the trap, so you can send the trap. Maybe depends on your situation, but you can send another copy like Tatsunootoshigo or your Goblin. And then you can make your Elf. Sorry, you can make your IP. So you can make your IP. And then you can summon your Creation King. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you see, this is only from one horse can give you a feel like this. We still have the card that we open in our hand. So as you can see, all of that from using only one horse. You have Interruption using Maze, you have your IP, you have your Combine Creation and Creation King, and you can set basically trap from your graveyard using your field spell. So now we're gonna focus on Memento side and tech card. So when it comes to Memento tech card, usually some people do run with the Finsmith package using double engraver, using one Lacrima, the standard Finsmith package with February, and also your Finsmith track. And the issue with Finsmith is sometimes Finsmith's combo usually require 2 body, and then you can go into the Moon of the Closed Heaven and into your Requiem, and then go full combo from there. But the main issue when it comes to Finsmith that actually does not a lot of people talk about is Finsmith itself is kinda like a more win combo, if you know what I mean. Because if you have the enough resources to do your full Memento combo, sometimes it's kinda like feel like a win more kind of thing if you go into Finsmith. That's what I get when I try playing Finsmith in Memento. That's why some people, not some, majority of people start taking out Finsmith from their Memento because it feels like a more win card. And then when it comes to the tech card or your side deck card, usually you're usually gonna main deck your Fualos or your Meows, especially against Maliss. Or in the mirror match, Meows is actually quite good against Memento because you do summons from the graveyard a bunch of time using your fusion, using your field spells, and also using Akihiron effect to special summon itself from the graveyard. And then when it comes to Lancia is good when it comes to best of 3 match, or you have a side deck for Lancia against Maliss. But when it comes to best of 1, Maliss does not really come often because it's random. You know, since Ryzel currently now is in the game, so it feel like a break. So that's why I think Lancia is not really good in the main deck right now because Ryzel is already here and it's basically the same tier as Maliss. And then against like other tech card, you can run TTT, or you can even run Trust if you want to specific tech counter against Tenpai. Maybe you can run Threatening Roar, if I can spell threat. Okay, this. So sometimes you do want to run Threatening Roar if you want to if you run into a bunch of Tenpai maybe. And also Droplet is also quite good, but it's not, you know, the most optimal. So the Droplet is really kinda like mid in this deck because you does not necessarily want your card in the graveyard if you does not destroy if your monster does not be destroyed by card effect this turn. You see what I mean? So it's kinda like meh. So there's a lot of other bunch of tech card for Memento, but most of them, as I can say just now, it's really situational. Then as I said just now, when it comes to going second, you want to take card like Super Poly. Super Poly is extremely important in Memento because you want to break boards using Super Poly, especially when around certain matchup. You cannot break the board without Super Poly. Also, Super Poly can be your fusion pieces for your Memento in case you cannot fuse using your Memento and Fusion or your Sleepy. And then when it comes to tech card, I do think this is like the best version of Memento in my opinion because you have Typhon. Typhon is really needed in this deck. I do disagree with people saying Typhon is not needed. Typhon is really needed in this deck because there's certain matchup where you notice Typhon is actually really good to out certain monster like a Borderload or Borderland Negate. So Typhon is really important at that aspect. And then when it comes to double Gathic, I know it's kind of controversial, but I do think double Gathic is really good, because in case one of your Gathic got banished or in your hand, you can still go full combo. So that's why at least 2 Gathic I think is mandatory. And then when it comes to Goblin package, I think Goblin package it's kinda like what people say, it's kinda like overrated I think, because the main issue with the Goblin package is most of your normal summon monster, like for example the only thing good, the good thing about the Goblin package, basically you need to know in case you open your hand trap, but you want to your hand trap in your hand, and most of your monster, if you're being normal summon, you can go full combo, like you normal summon your Dark Blade, you normal summon your Angwitch, or maybe you normal summon your Sleepy Trigger, your Sleepy Effect, you know. So it's kind of like a meh, it's not really like a mandatory thing. So that's why I think like running the Goblin package, it's really not that good. It's really not that necessary, because you want your hand trap in your hand, like Maxi, Afua, or maybe even Ash, but most of your Memento combo already being normal summon, and if you successfully activate its normal summon effect, you pretty much can go full combo, because your Dark Blade and your Angwitch can go straight up full combo. So why you need breakout? Because sometimes breakout is just a brick sometimes, and also it does not even make your endboard better, it make your endboard much worse. So that's why I think you don't need breakout. You just straight up don't need it. And then the rest I think is self-explanatory. 1-for-1 for your either your mace or your goblin, and then you will have one Sleepy, triple. Maybe some people do run like double Angwitch, but I do think triple Angwitch is mandatory. And then you have your Acheron, you have your Horn Dragon for extension and for disruption during your opponent's turn. Can be reborn, can be disruption using your bone party. And I think that's pretty much it. If you have any question about the deck, I hope this video can help you a lot. If you have any question, feel free to comment down below, and we're gonna jump into the gameplay. Enjoy.